why developing emotional intelligence and master your emotions are essential to manage your money?
Actually, I'll start by quoting a quote by Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest person in the world. He says that if you cannot manage your emotions, don't expect to manage money.
Wow, that's so true.
And that's come from Warren Buffett.
Yep.
So I like to start from there. And why is that? Because so when we are emotional, we are actually, and some of you may have heard of the limbic brain, which is the emotional brain, the limbic and the amygdala. Amygdala is where we have fear, we go into our amygdala, and limbic system. So they are the emotional brain. So when we have emotions, we are actually functioning from our emotional brain. And in that state, we are not thinking clearly because the thinking part, the rational, analytical, the executive part of our brain is also known as forebrain or prefrontal cortex. Yep. And that's the thinking part. So what happens is whenever we are emotional, the greater the emotions, the more disconnected we are from our thinking brain. So anytime that you're emotional, all we see is like the black and white. We actually don't see many choices. Our perception, our view become like a tiny little hole. It's like that's all we see, and there's no choice. And that's why it's very stressful to the body. And when we are able to clear our emotions, we then come back to the thinking part of our brain, not just the thinking, is the executive, is the rational, analytical part of the brain. So now we can make informed decisions. And when we come to this part of the brain, which is actually evolutionary, is the more recent part of the brain, because the limbic, the emotional brain, is a more ancient part of our brain. It's necessary. It's definitely necessary. And it's take care of our survival. Because without that, we may be at risk. So it has its function. However, it's not sometimes not very useful when we need to make informed decisions. Now, when we then come into the executive center of our brain, in our prefrontal cortex, so certainly we now see a bigger picture. We see more of what's happening. It's actually, you see all the different options, and we see all the possibilities, which means that we then can come up with solutions.